Thank you guys for tuning in. This is episode 20 of Coaching Connections. Now, today I had a chance to talk to two guys I call my friends, Coach Ryan Taplin of Lee High School and Coach Guy Nowlin of Seguin High School. Now, both guys just received confirmation that they received their first head coaching jobs of their career, and I couldn't be more proud of them. I'm extremely happy for these guys. I'm extremely proud of them. I know they're going to be great head coaches and they're going to have phenomenal careers. This episode was so much fun. We got a chance to laugh a lot. Just a great chemistry between the guys. We had a chance to talk about their journeys, people that have helped them along the way to get to this point, to have an opportunity to become a head coach. And it just really gives a lot of hope to a lot of young guys out there aspiring to become head coaches. So I hope you enjoy this episode 20, Ryan Taplin, Guy Nowlin. Let's get after it.
There we go. You hear me?
There it is.
All right.
What's up, Coach?
Oh, same old here. How you been?
Staying busy. Trying to stay busy anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this guy.
What's up, boys?
Got the beard going strong today. Look at that.
I did have the quarantine beard going for a while, and then I had a lot of silver and gray in that thing now. I had to let it go.
What's up, Guy? Congrats, bro.
Hey, you too, man.
Yeah, man. Happy for you.
Appreciate it. Long time coming for the both of us.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. What's up, Marcus? Appreciate you having us on, bro.
Oh man, no biggie. I'm glad we're able to work it out. Time wise, you guys are pretty flexible. I'm like, you want to do it today? I'm done. Didn't have to schedule much of anything, which worked out.
For sure.
So I appreciate you guys making some time. I know you had some plans earlier, Tap. So much love and much respect.
Absolutely, man.
So
are we recording, by the way? Are we recording right now?
It is now, but we can. I edit it later, so you can say whatever you want, and then I can.
No, I was just curious if we were or not.
Yeah, got Coach Nowlin and Coach Taplin with us today. First off, thank you guys again for taking some time to talk. How you guys been doing with this whole COVID situation and staying busy? I know you said you had a quarantine beard going, Guy, but it's all gone now. So talk to me about that.
Go ahead.
Kind of like how everybody's been on these coaching.
I think that's him, huh? Tap?
Conversation.
Yeah.
Hey, Guy, time out.
You make the best of
Time out, Guy.
years and then, yeah.
Hey, Guy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We got an official timeout. You're sounding like for me and Tap. You're sounding like T-Pain. So let's
try again.
Yeah, let's try that one again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're distorted. Yeah.
Is it good now?
You're good now.
All right. You were just asking about the quarantine stuff, how we're handling. Yeah, I had the beard going there for a while and kind of just for something to do, I guess, and kind of hoping to wait out this deal. And we never got called back to action. So just in general, I guess, it's just been reaching out to guys through Google Classroom, text message, all that kind of stuff, trying to make the best of a tough situation here. And then at the same time, trying to find the silver lining in everything and enjoying some family time and time with my kiddos, the wife, and, getting all the honeydew list stuff done around the house. So in those regards, it's been good. Kind of, as you guys know, you don't get to do some of those things or get some of that time during the school year. So, like I said, just finding the silver lining in things is what I've been trying to do mostly during this quarantine time.
Yeah, same. Go ahead. Same time with the kids. I got 2 kids under 4, so my house. Somebody asked me how's it going. I said, besides chaos, everything's fine. Yeah. Every day is a different kind of chaos with 2 kids under 4, but trying to make, like Guy said and everybody else has kind of said, make the most of it. Everybody's in this weird situation together. Everybody's kind of going through it. For Guy and myself, it's a little different because we're just taking over a program and wanting to establish all these things and we're not able to be in the gym with our guys. So that's a tough situation, dealing with that. But trying to stay in contact with our guys and text message and Zoom workouts, or I dropped my kids off at daycare the other day and saw a few of my guys out in the street doing some workouts, and so I was happy to see that. Stopped by and said hello, but I think I'm like everybody else, just dying to get back in the gym and dying to get back with our kids, and hopefully we can get back to a normal or a new normal or a semi-normal or anything that's normal. I'm happy to get back to. So ready to get back in the gym and grind for sure.
Well, you guys brought it up, taking over programs. I think it helps too that you were already in it. Both you guys were already at the place, so the kids already know you. So the relationships are established, right? So that's going to help your transition a ton. But head coach, right? First time head coach, and I got goosebumps saying this. I remember what it felt like for me. So tell me, how do you feel? What are some of those feelings that you felt once you found out?
Go ahead, Guy.
Obviously, just super excited. It's kind of been in the making, being under Coach Gerlich the last several years, and knowing that he was coming to the tail end of his career, kind of being groomed for that position in some ways. And actually, the last 3 years, I was the head cross country coach for Seguin too, so that helped me in some of those other ways of leading the program and turning that program around. We had some really good success the last couple of years, where previously we didn't fare too well on the boys' side or the girls' side in cross country. So that's been a blessing to have that opportunity to help some of the behind the scenes type deals of all the things that go into coaching that people don't see: parent meetings, planning, preparation, organization, all the things that within the school that people don't get to see. They just see us basketball wise Tuesday and Friday nights and go from there. But obviously you guys know a lot goes into it that isn't seen. So, and like Ryan said, I mentioned a moment ago too, it's kind of been tough. Like, we're taking over programs, but we can't really be hands-on with our guys. And so that hurts, and that kind of makes things a little bit frustrating at the moment. And our hands are tied, until we're given some kind of clearance and leeway to do more than send them workouts or encourage them through text or, like I say, Google Classroom and whatnot. So yeah.
Tap, how you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Relieved a little bit in a weird way. I'm sure, as most head coaches will say, that probably go away pretty quick when you realize all the stuff you got going on. But like Guy said earlier, it's been a long time coming, and we both have kind of put in the work and done our homework and kind of earned our spot and earned our position, which is nice. After 13 years basically as an assistant, 3 years at Mac, I was volunteering at that point, but still there every day doing all the other stuff. And then being at Leaf for the past 10 years, I will say I was lucky that I worked for two guys in Mark Murphy and Norm Gallion, who allowed me to do more than a lot of assistants get to do. And so I was lucky in that situation that I had two guys that knew I wanted to be a head coach and kind of allowed me to do more and allowed me to be more involved in not only on the on-court stuff, but on the off-court stuff too. Like Guy said, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it when you're sitting at the office and you get a whole bunch of stuff that you got to do. But I've already kind of done some of that, been aware of it, because I had two guys that knew where I wanted to be and kind of pushed me. Hey man, you're going to have to do this, so you might as well get used to doing this right now. Like I said, I've been very blessed, very lucky to spend my whole career with two guys who valued my opinion and who valued what I brought to the table as an assistant. And so, I feel, like I said, I'm grateful and I'm blessed, because not a lot of coaches get to be in this position. And I don't take that lightly. And, it's weird. And, this is probably the weirdest year of any year ever. I feel that this is the year that we get our chance, that I get my chance. But you kind of got to deal with the cards you're dealt and kind of move on. So.
Well, I'm extremely happy and proud of both of you. You endured. As you talked about all the time that you spent as an assistant coach. We'll get into your journey as an assistant here in a second, but before I forget, what is something that you would tell another assistant, a young assistant, about the work and staying with it, not giving up, or a guy that might be like you said, I was lucky too. I had coaches that like Reggie was really good at giving me extra stuff to do so I could learn, not because he didn't want to do it, but because he knew I wanted to know how to do it. And so he would give me tasks, and I learned a lot from hands-on experience, right? So, but some guys take the approach where, well, I'm not going to do that. It's not my job. It's his job. I mean, what would you tell the young guys in those situations?
I mean, me personally, I've always kind of coached by the mantra that, like, I wanted to be the assistant that I would want. Mm-hmm. So as a head coach, like, what would I want my assistant to do for me? What would I want my assistant to take off my plate? What would I want my assistant to do without asking? What kind of initiative would I want my assistant to take? And so I've kind of tried to do that myself as an assistant. I wanted to take as much off the head coach's plate as I possibly could. I wanted to learn as much as I could. I wanted to take in as much as I could. And that was from the beginning. That was, as a student teacher for Mark Murphy at MacArthur High School, is the same thing. Like, what can I learn that's going to help me in the future? And what kind of, what would I want my assistants to do? So those who want to be a head coach one day, that's great. I hope, every assistant coach wants to be a head coach one day. And I hope you aspire to get to the top of our profession as far as high school athletics goes. But, be the assistant that you would want, grind, go scout at that 8:00 game that doesn't start till 8:30, that goes into double overtime, go. You're going to have to sacrifice some time, some personal time and some family time and some of the other stuff to go do some things that are necessary. And so that's one thing, I learned, and I've been grateful that, my wife has supported me in that. And, hey, I need to go scout a triple header, I'm going to scout a triple header. And I haven't ever got any back feed from that. But, you have to, young assistants, you have to do more. You have to do extra. You have to do all the little things without being asked. And so that's what kind of makes a good assistant. You're a suggester. You're there to offer suggestions without really offering solutions necessary. But, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? It's good to have ideas, and it's good to be pushed, and it's good to voice those ideas. And if you have a good idea, it's a good idea, no matter who it comes from. But, young coaches who want to be head coaches, be prepared for the grind and be prepared to do extra and be prepared to do more. And it works out for you in the end.
Guy?
Yeah, Ryan, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. That was kind of how my mantra was being an assistant coach too. Like, be proactive in getting things done, be proactive in how small or big the task is. And, obviously most head coaches will probably delegate certain things to their assistants or the freshman coach or whatnot. And obviously, you need to get those things done in a timely order. But I always took pride in not only just doing those things that were delegated to me, but then try to go above and beyond and do some of the other things proactively without being asked, because, hey, I know this needs to get done, so let's get it done. Whether it's scouting an opponent, where it's watching the film, it's pulling the stats, all the little tedious things that go into it. I've always taken pride in that along the way of being an assistant. So, all that stuff you just talked about right there is great advice to anybody who's an assistant or looking to make their way up the coaching ranks as well. And we kind of attacked it the same way, I think, as far as taking our job as an assistant seriously, and not just sitting back and, well, it's not my gig, it's not my, that's his program, it's not my program, I'm just going to do what I'm asked. And it's beyond that. And I think when you have that approach, it comes from the mindset of you're doing it for the kids. It's for our athletes. It's not, it's not about anything else. It's about what's best for the kids, what's best for the athletes, and trying to do your best to help them grow, fulfill their potential, and put them in positions to be successful. And part of that is doing all the extra things and being proactive and, like you said, missing family time or at family functions and stuff like that. I'm a family first guy, but a lot of, you have to understand there's a balance there within the job too, because you're also family for these kids, especially for us. I would say, being a one town or a one high school town, like we're, it's all about the community and trying to reach these kids and, being father figure, coach, brother, friend, all that kind of stuff to them, depending on where their needs need to be met. And so I've taken a lot of pride in trying to develop those relationships and kind of just put myself out there to try to be the best assistant as possible, knowing that will actually make me a better head coach one day. So that's my mindset in regards to that.
We touched on Tap's journey, right? I mean, Tap, you spent a few years at Mac, right?
Yep.
And the 10 years at Lee.
At Lee, yeah.
And that's the extent of your journey, I guess. Any other schools?
No, that's the only schools, man. I kind of got a late start. I was a little bit older after, playing ball and doing all that and taking a year off. And by the time I finished school, man, I think I was 25 probably by the time I graduated and did my student teaching and all that kind of stuff. I was just blessed to a lot of student teaching assignments come through and you're not really sure what you're getting into. And I mean, I walked into a gold mine with Mark Murphy. I'm 25 years old. I don't know anything about anything. And I walked in and, I learned a lot in 3 years. I had a guy that said, hey, man, you can come to as much as you want to come to.
Yeah. And
I said, okay, I'm going to come to everything. And that's what I did. I went to every practice. I went to every game. I went to every meeting, every film session, every anything without getting paid. At that point, I was just teaching special ed at MacArthur, volunteering my time because I wanted to get my foot in the door.
Yep.
And that's what it takes sometimes. I spent 3 years doing stuff for free. I probably worked an extra 30 hours a week at least without getting paid for it. But that was all with this goal in mind, with if I can get my foot in the door, I can make the right connections and eventually you'll get there. And, I was lucky with my time at Mac and I was lucky with my time at Lee, really. And, I've told everybody, friends and mentees or whatever you want to call it, it's about relationships over resumes. And any relationship that you can make and keep is a positive. I wouldn't be the head coach at Lee right now without relationships. I'll tell you that right now. My resume ain't good enough to be a head coach at a 6A high school. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I think I know enough. I think I'm prepared enough. I think I'm qualified enough. I think I'm all those things. But none of that really matters. It's about relationships and I have a good relationship with our football coach. I have a good relationship with our administrative staff. I have a good relationship with our athletic office. And that has definitely helped me to this. Prior to school, I did the AAU thing. I trained kids. I've done that. I've trained a couple of San Antonio Players of the Year. I wouldn't say exclusively. Let me make sure that everybody knows that. I didn't do it myself. It was a village, right? There's a lot of people involved and Leslie Vorpahl and Cole Martinez and guys like that, girls that I was trained and coached. But, high school was where it was always at for me. The AAU stuff, the training was always just a gap, right, between this and this. I knew I always wanted to be a high school head coach. That was always goal number one. And everything else I've done, in preparation of that has always been for that goal. I didn't do anything that was going to take me somewhere else. High school basketball coach was always at the top for me.
It's good you say that about relationships. It's important. I mean, because not only just to get the spot you want, but also your working relationship after you have it with the same staff members, and they're working with your kids, and everybody's got to be on the same page, and so that's going to pay off in the long run. And I was talking to I haven't released the episode yet, but with Stan Leach and Brian Young, I was talking to Stan Leach, and he's the AD right now over at Bernie. His biggest thing he was talking about was relationships. How important are relationships with your kids, with your school board, with your admin, with your parents? I mean, relationships are everything. So it's interesting that someone who's been coaching 35 years, right, and then you're getting your first job as a head coach, you understand that already. So it's much power and respect to you for that. Guy, what about your journey?
Yeah, man.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, man. No. That's good. I was gonna, jump on top of that, but guys,
No. Hey, we got all the time in the world, man. Jump on top of it.
No, man. I was just saying, like, in this whole process, the whole hiring
Time out, Tap.
process, the whole thing,
Time out, Tap.
it's not just
Tap.
It's not just there. It's everybody. My pros.
Yeah, you're kind of.
I'm trying.
Pulling that T-Pain deal.
Good now.
All right, there we go. All right, now what were you saying, Tap, about on top of the relationship piece?
Just like it's not just kids. It's the deans on campus. It's the APs. It's the football coaches. It's everybody. It's not just one person, because you're gonna need something from everybody at some point. And the better relationships you have with all those people, it tends to work out in your favor when you actually need something.
Good deal. And Guy, what about the journey? How does that look?
It's fun, but
Man,
I kind of got a late start too, just because I was on the 5-year plan in college, and then, I mean, honestly, I always wanted to be a coach. I always knew I wanted to do that. I wasn't always so sure about the teaching end of things. My ideal from the outside looking at it was, I don't want to have to spend my time at home grading papers and things like that. And I just kind of never saw myself as somebody who could be standing in front of the classroom teaching, whatever it was. But I had a lot of people pushing me and prodding me and saying, what are you doing? Like, that's what you need to do. Like, that's what you're cut out for. And so I'm thankful for those people. They kind of pushed me in the right direction, obviously, and I ended up going through with it and getting certified and all that kind of stuff. But my first 2 years, I was at Roosevelt High School, just doing ISS, and that's where I went to high school too. So it was kind of you can always go home, so to speak, type of deal. But so that was good. I still was kind of trying to figure out what I exactly wanted to do, but I was doing ISS, and so I was there for 2 years, and I ended up applying basically to like 16 districts in the whole surrounding area.
Don't start me on that.
But I only had PE and health as my certification levels at the time, and so everybody always told me, well, you're never going to get a job. You got to get something in the core area. Try to fast forward a little bit. I ended up getting a call from Seguin. They had an assistant football job open, and I get a call, and they said, well, the position that you applied for has actually already been filled, but we're going to look at implementing PE and health classes at the alternative campus in Seguin for the first time ever, because when kids get sent to alternative school, they lose out on those credits because they didn't have it there prior. And they were like, if you're interested in something like that, we can bring you in for an interview. If all goes well, once in the future, if a coaching position opens up, like, you already kind of have your foot in the door with district, it'll make it easier for us to then slide you over into one of those positions. So I went, interviewed, got the job, started volunteering at the high school, kind of like Tap was saying, and showing up to as much things as I could, practices, games, Saturdays, all that kind of stuff. And then I started coaching actually at the junior high one of the junior highs in Seguin because one of the teachers didn't end up passing his certification test. So come December, he was let go, and so they needed somebody to fill his coaching duties. And so that's kind of got me into doing that. So I coached basketball and track for one of the junior highs that year. The following year, I got a set position at one of the junior highs at Breezemeister Middle School. Did that for a year. I did special ed PE there. I kind of drove around different campuses in the district and serviced different kids at different schools. And that was really fulfilling. Then the following year, our athletic coordinator at the middle school ended up getting bumped up to the high school for a football position. And then I was lucky enough to get that position. So I became the athletic coordinator that next year at the middle school. And that gave me a lot of responsibilities, duties, handling budgets, organization, scheduling, all that kind of stuff. So that was a really good experience for me to be able to do that. And so I did that, football, basketball, track, how it goes in middle school, you do everything, and did that for a few years. Almost every year it was like, hey, we want to bring you to the high school type of deal. And then it always came down to, we don't have a spot for you teaching slot wise. So I ended up getting certified in special ed to try to make that transition a little bit easier. Had opportunities to go other places, but I just felt a good niche there in Seguin, and I felt like I was making a difference with kids there, and so I kind of just kept hanging on and seeing where it was going to go. Finally worked out to where I was going to be brought up to the high school, and actually Gerlich was going to bring me up to be his first assistant, and I get a call at coaching school in the summer, and it's from our then football coach at the time, and he's like, hey, I need you to coach varsity football. I was going to do freshman football and then assistant basketball. And he's like, well, I need you to – a couple of guys didn't come through with the contract hiring process, and so I need you to coach varsity football. Would you rather coach running backs or receivers? And so I was like, well, give me the running backs. And I knew we were going to be a more heavily run offense, so I felt I'd be more in the mix if I was coaching the running backs as opposed to receivers. So did that for a couple of years, and then as you know, football is 24/7, 365 plus some, which when you're doing it, you don't realize how much time you're there. I remember one time one of the assistant football coach at the time was like, man, you realize we're sitting up on a Sunday night? And he's like, you realize we've been up here for like 88 hours this week? And I was like, yeah, well, it's Texas, so, football's king, all that kind of stuff. So I loved it. I enjoyed it. There's nothing that beats Friday night lights out there in the football field, especially in a small town. They can pack the stadium, lose or draw, and the community comes out and supports. And then when Coach Bush came in to Seguin, who's been there now for 4 years, I just went to him and said, hey, my goal at the end of the day, is to become a head basketball coach. Love coaching football, enjoy working with the kids. But is there any way I could, try to get in a position to where I could focus more on basketball and slide into you got to have a second sport. So there happened to be an opening in cross country for assistant cross country. And so that's how I ended up making that transition out of football. And then that freed me up more to focus more on basketball and help with the program from an assistant standpoint that way. And that's what I did from there, and cross country for 1 year. And then our cross country coach retired. She was, I think, 27 years coaching. She retired, and that kind of what set me up to become the head cross country coach, and did that for the last 3 years and until here now. Everybody knows now Dwayne decided to retire, and so it kind of opened up that opportunity for me to go for the job. And I feel like the same as Ryan, like, maybe resume wise, it's not as glowing as, some others might be, but I feel like I'm prepared. I feel like this is about what I've been working for, and not that I deserve, but I feel like I've earned it. And now it's just up to me to push through and see what we can get done, and that's what makes this whole situation that much more frustrating, I guess. Just because I'd like to get in there hands on and get some things working and get going, and especially for us, I guess maybe I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but we had 10 seniors on our varsity graduate this year, so we're going to be super young, super inexperienced from a varsity playing level, and so I think for schools like us, this is maybe even hurting us even that much more so. Although, like you said earlier, Marcus, too, it's good that the kids already know me. So I do have that going. It's not like I'm coming into a brand new school situation and they don't know me from anything. So that definitely is a positive. And so just kind of waiting and biding our time to get going.
It's funny that, you look at me and guys kind of journey, and it's not just us two, it's kind of throughout the whole Your Little Coaching Connections thing. Like a lot of interviews, people have talked about all the steps they've had to take, but you listen to anybody out in the public and they're like, I should be the head coach at that school. I'm like, do you know what it takes? Like, are you willing to sacrifice 15 years of your life to get to that point? Are you willing to do the things that really it requires and put in the time that it really requires? Because you don't just graduate college and then get a head job, especially not at the 5A or 6A level. Like, that doesn't happen. You got to go work at a middle school, or you have to volunteer, or you have to do all these things to kind of work your way through to get to where where you're, excited about being, or where you're meant to be, or whatever the case may be. But, it's not as easy as the public likes to make it seem. As a young guy, I thought like, okay, I get a head job, let's go, and it doesn't work that way, and you have to put in your time and earn your spot pretty much, and it's funny because we're both in we see each other all the time, at tournaments or here and there, and we're both kind of in the same boat, and then boom, 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 like a week later, like it happens for both of us, and it's like, damn, that's crazy, so. Yeah. When you least expect it, it happens. When you expect it to happen, it doesn't. And when you think it might happen, you ain't got no shot. And, I was, kind of unlucky, a lot of jobs that I interviewed for, I feel like, when the person got the job, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I interviewed for the Jefferson job, and they're like, we're going to hire Artie, and we're going to hire Art. And I'm like, well, you know what I mean? Like, okay, moving on, like, oh, I interviewed for this job, and it's like, well, we're going to hire this guy. And I'm like, well, that makes sense, so like, I get it. But when you actually get one, you're kind of like, okay, so now the work starts.
Yeah. And I love it. I mean, I like the variation of guests that we've had on the show, like, some older guys, some retired guys, some guys, kind of fresh in their head coaching career. And then guys like you, just fresh out of the trenches as an assistant, about to jump into this new journey and talking about the work, because for some guys, like even talking with Dwayne a couple weeks ago, I mean, he is a head coach for 35 years, so he remembers, but you guys are fresh out of that role as an assistant, and so they're talking about it, and it means a lot to hear it, but to hear it from guys that literally a month ago were in the trenches as an assistant, doing all of the work, not shying away from the challenge, staying positive, like Tap, like you said, you've interviewed for some jobs and didn't get it, and some guys cash it in, right? And then some guys just stay the course, and now you're probably where you were meant to be this whole time, And so,
yeah, maybe, and people would say that, like when it's meant to be, it's going to happen, type of thing.
Yeah.
But you hate to hear that, because you want it to happen now, and you want that job. Like, if I get that job, I can do this. If I get that job, I can do that. But yeah, like you said, like, some things work out usually the best way. And I'm in a great position, and I'm blessed and happy to be here. So,
with this, the job I have now, it was kind of a late hire. It happened like at the beginning of the school year. But in that May before, I interviewed for another head job, and I thought I did great. Just like you said, you think you do great, but it just didn't work out, and it didn't work out, But imagine that if it did, and then 2 months later, the McCullum job opens up, and I feel like this is my home, this is where I want to be, meant to be, and it just happened to work out that way. I didn't get the other job, and left this blessing of an opening for me to apply for this one, and it worked out. But I'm home, and I get to be where I grew up, and so I'm glad it worked out. Like I said,
I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can list all 18, but I won't.
Yeah, all that speaks to me too. I had 2 chances to go get head jobs at different places, and I ended up turning both of them down after speaking with people in my circle, and and I've always been told and kind of mentored to think about you don't take a job just because it's a head job. Take a job because it's the right job, and that speaks volumes. That's kind of why I've stayed where I've stayed, because I feel like this is the right job, and hopefully at the end of the day that's true, and I got a chance now, and so now it's kind of go prove it now. But with a couple of those other jobs I've been offered, it was I really want to uproot my family and move. There's no guarantees in this profession either. So like earlier at the beginning of this, Ryan, you were talking about you got to have good relationships with administration, teachers, counselors, everybody that's associated with your campus, with your school district. And I've been able to develop a lot of those relationships here in Seguin, and feel like I got a good, strong support system to where if I need something, or I can go to somebody and they'll have my back, or they'll be able to help me out, or vice versa. I'll be able to help them out because we've had those relationships professionally already established. So there's no guarantees. I've always, and that's something I've told some of my friends too when they're talking about trying to get into different coaching jobs, whether it's assistant jobs or head jobs, and that's what I've always echoed to them also is it the right job, not just for you, but for your family and for you professionally beyond basketball too. So all of that matters. It's kind of weird. Like, we've been assistants for many years now. In some ways, I kind of feel like I'm a little bit of an old head, even though it's going to be my first year as a head basketball coach. But I mean, I think that goes for both of us, that we just had good people around us to speak some of these things into our lives, to help prepare us, to help challenge us, to help guide us along our journeys. And I know I'm blessed for sure for people to tell me some of those things that maybe some people might not necessarily know in regards to, do you chase that job? Do you uproot and go somewhere else, and things of that nature? So, I mean, and I'm a believer too. Like, things happen for a reason. I'm glad where I'm at, and I'm glad to be given the opportunity for sure.
Sure.
Talk about what are you most excited about to get started? Like, what is the one thing that, I mean, I know you're excited just to do it all. What's getting you fired up right now thinking about, I got my first head job, let me get to work? Like, what's exciting you?
Practice. I love practice.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm lucky that I got a group of kids, and this goes back to knowing my kids already, which helps. But I got a group of kids that let you coach them. I got a group of kids that don't make excuses. I got a group of kids that want to do the right things, and that's all you really care about. The practice is, for me, that's the fun part.
Yeah.
The kids probably will disagree with that. But for me, the practice is the fun part, and then you get to go, release them into the games and let them go do their thing and try to use what you've taught them and what you've talked about and that type of stuff. Those are the tests, but I like the everyday. I like the growth. I like the process of your team growing together. I think that's one thing I kind of have prided myself on, is even at the JV level, I tried to make it where it was my program and I was coaching it how I wanted to coach it. And, I can confidently say that on my JV, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we're going to get better and we're going to improve and we're going to do things differently and better and all that type of, and I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the growth. I enjoy the grind with kids, and it is definitely that, a grind, but I enjoy it. And, doing things your way, there's something special about that. And I know, you, Marcus, I know you, Guy, have a ton of respect for the guys that you've worked for, who you've been assistants for, as well as me. And I have a ton of respect for Mark and a ton of respect for Norm. But there's just something about doing it your way, and all the little ideas that you had to run by somebody else prior to this. You don't have to run by anybody anymore. So, I'm excited about, making the final decision. But what's best for our kids, it's about us. And, I've told my seniors that, this is your program, not mine. So where do you want to see it to go? And, their responses to me have kind of even got me more energized, and hopefully that carries over to whenever we can get back to school.
Yeah, for me too, it's a lot of the same. Like I enjoy the journey of it. I love seeing, like, putting the building blocks in place, so to speak, and seeing the progress through the course of the season, through the year. And, a lot of that's done through practice, and then learning through your mistakes and successes within games. Yes, of course. But if you think about it, the bulk of the time we're in practice. So you got to enjoy practice. You got to love the grind of practice. You practice more than you ever play. So you got to make it something to where the kids love it too and buy into it. And that's the part of the process or part of the journey I look forward most to getting started with, and then being able to see things start to compound and see the progress and development and the growth. They do an article here, and Seguin has its own local little paper, so they did an interview with me, and I guess Gerlich or Coach Bush had told them, the JV team went 6-2 in the second round in district for us, which, it's the JV team, great. Everybody knows it's all about the varsity, 1-loss record, make the playoffs, all those kind of good things. But I'm just like you, Ryan. Like I always try to run the JV team as if it was a varsity, and try to treat them accordingly within those parameters. Like, 'cause one day you guys are going to be a varsity, and shoot, next year it's pretty much going to be my JV, all moving up with the amount of seniors we had graduate. So I think all the little things like you do in practice, all the details, holding them accountable, all those things that seem their growth is the biggest thing that I like to see. Wins and losses will take care, and the record will take care of itself if you're putting in the time, the work, energy every day, and making it to where something that the kids are bought into, want to be part of, and it just makes them that much more enjoyable. But yeah, practice is the key right there. Like I said, that's where the majority of your time is with them. So you have to enjoy it.
What about something that maybe not makes you nervous, but just something that you think maybe I got to work on this to make sure I'm the coach I want to be?
There you
go.
Shoot, everything. Everything makes me nervous. I was told a long time ago, as an assistant, you can give ideas 99 times. It might take the 100th time, and you're finding your ideas kind of plucked and maybe used. But now we're the ones that have to decide between those 99 times or 100 times. Do I use that idea, or is it mine now? Like owning it. Everything falls back on our shoulders now. As an assistant, I don't know what the right way to phrase this is, but it's almost like you the burden doesn't fall on you at the end of the day in a lot of those instances, So, even though you might take it to heart that it does, which I know I've done, but, at the end of the day, it's whoever's name is lined up under head coach, that's who it falls under. And, so everything makes me nervous. I want to do the community proud. I want to do the kids right, the parents right, our school. I want to do my best to be able to put them in a position to be successful. And if you don't feel that pressure, then, maybe your heart's not all the way into it, to me, because there should be some kind of pressure there to want to do your best to get them to do their best. And but I think it in the biggest trend here through the conversation is the relationships. If you build those relationships, I think all that stuff takes care of itself. It eases some of those stressors, or maybe negative outside voices, things like that. You got to bond together. And Mike Krzyzewski always has a quote that talks about playing as a fist. If you go into a fist fight, you're going to ball up your fist. You're not going to go into a fist fight with one guy or two guys not together. So you have guys on the court got to be all together. And if you have a weak link in there as far as not bought in all the way or not together, it's going to be hard to go to battle every night and go to practice and win games and all those things. So I think the biggest thing is just trying to develop those relationships and let those kids know they're loved, they're cared about, and we have their best interests at heart for them. And for me, it's just go back to, it's all about the team. It's all about the team. I want them all to have their individual successes and glories, but coming from the team standpoint. And so that's one of the things I hope to get across and kind of push for our program. That way we're all united and together.
Yeah.
I already know there's a lot of stuff I don't know. I'm smart enough to know that. I'm not a smart man, but I know there's a lot that I don't know. But I'm lucky. I got a good group of not only mentors outside of Lee High School, but other head coaches on Lee High School's campus that I can pick their brain and ask questions about. I feel pretty confident once I step on the court that I'm doing what's best for our group and that I'm going to coach in the right way and I'm going to do all those things. I think my biggest nervousness, I guess, if you're going to be nervous about something besides before the ball goes up, because I'm sure that first game will be a nervous wreck, before that ball goes up. But in the meantime, it's all administrative stuff. The only thing that, I feel like once athletics period, once that bell rings and we're going to the court, I'm not nervous about that. That's just basketball. That's something we've been doing our whole lives. And so my biggest thing is going to be all the outside stuff, just being the man. Usually if we had an issue or something, I always, like Guy said, is always deflected on somebody else. I'm lucky enough that my record is 0-0 right now. So I'm undefeated. So take that, everybody who's lost a game before. Right? I'm undefeated and you're not, right? But I'm 0-0. It hasn't fallen on me yet, but it will now. And so that backpack you're carrying now is a little bit heavier than it was before, because it's your name attached. But I'm okay with that. I'm ready for that. Got my chip on my shoulder in my backpack, so we're good to go.
Hey, I need like a 1 minute recess. My groceries just got delivered. I don't want to leave them on the front patio real quick.
All right.
Good. My neighbors are outside. Said they're about to steal my groceries. Man. All right, let's get back on track. Best basketball game memory that you've been a part of. Best basketball game memory. You could have played. You could have coached.
Played or coached?
Yep.
I got one if you're not ready.
Go ahead.
All right, this one's easy. So 2017.
Oh, that has to be the half court shot to win the bi-district game, right? It has to be.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
2017, we're playing in the bi-district round against Awesome Lanier, and they had a kid that was big time shooter, could fill it up, and the game comes down to the wire. We were actually in control the whole game, really, and then we missed some free throws down the stretch, and he started getting hot. His name was Buster. He started getting hot, and he was hitting from 6'7" Steph Curry range behind the 3-point line on us. And Ends up getting tight there down the stretch, but they have the basketball, and it's a tie game. We're going to go overtime, or man, they're going to hit a shot. Something's crazy going to happen, and their ball at half court, and of course we're going to take away Buster and double him, and he's not going to catch the basketball, and somebody else is going to have to beat us. So we take him away. They end up throwing the ball towards the middle of the court there, and kid on their team just doesn't catch it clean, and it's kind of falls out of his hands and rolls there. And our point guard, Mark Garcia, picks it up, takes a step, and launches from half court at the buzzer to win the game. And it would made the ESPN top 10 that night, Sports Center highlights, and obviously sent us into the next round. But it was just awesome to be a part of. Everybody comes rushing the court and dogpiling, and everybody's hugging, high-fiving, all that kind of stuff. It was an incredible moment to be a part of, which actually my favorite one as being a player happened the same way, pretty much. When I was a sophomore in high school, we were in a bi-district round against Austin Westlake. It was our basketball, half court. We inbound the basketball, take 2 dribbles, and Chris Medina, who's now the soccer coach at Roosevelt, he hits one from right near half court at the buzzer to win, and it was like hysteria, the same thing all over again, dog pile in the center of court. And so it's kind of crazy to be a part of it once as a player, hitting a half court shot to win a playoff game, and then a couple of years ago to be able to experience the same thing. And that was a great team we had in 2017. We just getting free throws were our Achilles heel that year, and man, we probably should have won that second round game too, but it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, you're right. That was an easy one for me to pick.
Yeah, that was easy for sure. Man, as a coach, I mean, that's tough, man, because I mean, if it's high school only, I'd probably go with something. I have some stuff from AAU days, AAU nationals, playing in some games with guys. But, I'll tell you, when I had an AAU team, they were like 6th graders or 5th graders. We went to AAU nationals. I had Jordan Murphy, Jake Valero, LaShawn Brown, Dorian Lopez, all on one team. So had some real dudes on those teams. They can win some high school games as 6th graders, I think. So, but high school wise, and I know my man Corey's going to hate me for this. I'm sorry, Corey. I'm so sorry. JV game, last game of the year this year against Mac, double overtime. We gave up 44 to their best player, who was a freshman. He absolutely torched us. We had no answer whatsoever. But I put in a little set in like October with my guys, maybe like first week of school, so first week in November. And we didn't run the set the entire year. We went like 3.5 months. We never ran it ever because the situation wasn't right. It had to be the right situation to get what I wanted. And so we were down 1, and we were in the bonus, and they didn't have a foul to give. And without calling a timeout, my guys ran it. The ball went out of bounds, and I called it without calling a timeout. Didn't have to draw it up. Didn't have to do anything. They ran it perfectly. And got a backdoor layup to win the game at the buzzer.
And Corey, what was his? I'm sure he's devastated.
Corey's still not happy about that. He likes to talk about that quite often, and he'll be really upset that I put it on any type of podcast or anything. But that's my guy, Corey Christensen. What's up, boy? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was, but we got lucky. He'll say it differently. You got a layup to win the game. It wasn't luck, but we were pretty lucky. So.
Well, I mean, the kids remembered. They remembered.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. Yeah, and there wasn't any question about what was going on. So, it was cool for sure.
All right, a little different question. Go to NBA. Name me your top 3 point guards of all time.
Woo! All time?
All time.
Shit. Point guards. Who's going first? Me?
Don't matter. Whoever.
I'll go.
Man, I got two. Who's my third? Go ahead.
All right. Magic.
Okay.
John Stockton.
Okay.
Isaiah Thomas.
Man. I'm going to go.
Tough.
You got to say Magic. Even though Stockton was the dirtiest little SOB you ever met in your life, you cannot argue with his numbers. Like assists and steals already, like those numbers will never be touched. So anybody that has like a top and you don't put him in, you're just being biased at that point.
Yeah.
So I'd say Stockton, Magic. Third one's tough. I don't know. I'm not an Isaiah guy.
Do you have a 3-4? Like you're torn between two guys?
No, not really. I mean, I want to say Nash, just because I thought he was unathletic. I don't know if that sounds bad or not, but he's unathletic. He could shoot it. He could pass it. He got to where he wanted to. So I want to say Nash, but I don't know. Man, that's tough.
All right.
Nash, I guess.
I asked this one on another podcast, but I'll ask you guys. I just need one. Best shooter of all time. Best shooter of all time.
All time?
All time. Best shooter.
That's easy. That's Curry.
Steph Curry.
Right?
Yeah. I don't think it's even close.
I agree. I don't disagree. No. He's changed the game, and there's a lot of things that he's not. But when you have to guard somebody out to like 35 feet, that makes a huge difference for how you run your offense. And I think, his numbers are ridiculous. The amount of threes that he's made is ridiculous, and the percentage that he shoots it is ridiculous. And the degree of difficulty.
Yeah, for sure. He's not shooting, set shots. He's not shooting, he's not spotting up in the corner, like Ray Allen and Larry Bird and some of those guys have done. He's doing stuff coming off ball screens and pulling from 36 feet with a 6'11" guy in his hand. So, I think Curry's best shooter for sure.
Yeah. You guys excited about the NBA coming back?
I'm excited that the Spurs get a chance to maybe continue their playoff.
I think Spurs fans were saying, I hope they just cancel it so it doesn't count on us not making the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just happy for some sports to be on, to be honest. I just want to watch something on TV because, 2 months with nothing has been a little crazy. If all we get is a foursome, golf tournament with Tiger and Tom Brady and Phil, I could use a little bit more, me personally.
Yeah, I flipped on ESPN last night just out of habit, and they had a cornhole tournament going on TV. And
you probably watched it too.
I did watch it.
I got $20 on that guy.
Yeah.
Probably ESPN 8 the Ocho, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They show a lot of that stuff. So you guys used to work together back in the day, huh? At a restaurant?
Yeah, Olive Garden.
OG baby.
How old were you guys?
I worked there for 9 years, actually. I worked there from the time I was 15 and through high school, through college, part-time. And it happened a little bit just.
I was probably like 17 at the time, maybe 18, maybe.
Man, so y'all go way back.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Funny how that worked out for sure.
Yeah, you both getting your head jobs at the same time, but y'all got this history together. Any crazy stories of back in the OG days?
Typical restaurant stuff. If you ever worked in a restaurant, you know it's the same stuff.
Never had.
Nah, you're missing out on that.
Yeah.
I'm glad I never have to again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I have nightmares about not being able to use the computer right. Like putting in stuff. Like not about that life anymore.
All right, so talk to me about some impactful moments that you've had. I know you've been assistant coaches for a long time, so you've been in the business for a long time. It's all the same. You're working with kids and building relationships. So any impactful moments that you've had over the course of your career that just kind of stand out, where it's more than just basketball?
Go ahead.
Okay. A couple of years ago, through cross country, I actually had a kid that was ROTC all the way through high school and came from a military family, but he, super brilliant kid. He was actually, his goal was actually to get into West Point, and which, you know, is like a Harvard of the military institution. So he came out to cross country just primarily to get his endurance, his running in shape so that he could succeed in his PT test, which is part of the criteria to get into West Point. You got to get a congressional nomination, all kinds of things go into it. But just working with him through that process, and I just trained him on the side and had to put him through his PET test. I got to get submitted to West Point, and he actually got submitted, which was, from all accounts that we know, was the first kid from Seguin to ever be accepted in the West Point. And, you know, they blew it all up in the Seguin paper, and it was a big deal. It was an honor to be a part of all that kind of stuff, because totally nothing to do with basketball, and you know, anything you can do in those regards, you know, that's a major accomplishment. A great kid, great family. Just couldn't be more proud of a kid, and to see that journey in that aspect, which is totally different from anything I ever experienced, was really cool to see. And then at the end of the school year, Seguin Education Foundation does a Heroes Banquet. So the top 10% of each graduating class gets to select a hero, and it could be from anywhere from kindergarten all the way up to senior year, teacher, coach, counselor, parent, anybody that had to deal with their education growing up. And they have a big banquet ceremony, all kinds of things. And he actually selected me as his hero. And part of that is they record a video message explaining their thoughts and feelings and what you meant to them. And I mean, honestly, it was emotional to hear and to see that kind of impact you can have on a kid. And, you know, that was very heartfelt, and one of my proudest moments as an educator beyond basketball was that, being selected as hero and being able to just be a small part of his journey to make it into West Point. And then since then, I've actually helped a kid get into the Naval Academy. And then this year, actually got selected as a hero again, surprisingly enough. But due to the COVID stuff, they weren't able to ever sync up a time with. I still don't know who this student is that's selected me, because they try to keep it as like a secret and kind of make it a special announcement deal, and like you meet up, take a picture, and like they just keep it secretive until you kind of show up at the same place for a photo. And obviously no heroes banquet this year, no sports banquets, nothing like that. But, so I'm still waiting to see on who's selecting me this year. But things like that are definitely touching and moving, things I keep close to my heart, as far as being able to however inspire, motivate some of our kids outside of basketball too.
Same. I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot of kids a lot of guys who have played for me or who know me who don't like to hear this. Unfortunately, they're not not my favorite kid I've ever coached, right? Because I can tell you which one it is, right? And he definitely wasn't the best basketball player. What's up, E? 5 foot nothing, was absolutely 1,000% a gift as a freshman. 1,000%. He was a good kid. He was nice. He worked hard. We kept him. Ended up being, a varsity letterman for us. Worked his butt off for 4 years. Anything you asked him to do, he did it above and beyond. Never was, knew that he wasn't a basketball player, but knew that he was going to work harder than everybody else. And there's something in that, because it set him up for, and he's told me this, and he's a young kid, but he's very mature for his age. And, he's already told me, the impact that I've had on his life, and the things like that. He's actually in the Israeli Special Forces right now, stationed he's over in Israel right now, going through a whole bunch of sniper training and Special Forces training and things like that. But man, he was a life-changing experience for sure. A kid that will always be a part of my life, a kid that will always be on the know about what's going on with me, always welcome in my home, things like that. I mean, great kid. And in teaching, you don't always know the impact that you make on kids until it's a little bit later on in life. And so that's one thing, although we're young in the game, I'm 38, and so I'm not young. And so some of the kids that I've coached have kind of grown up a little bit from being high school kids. They're not 18, 19, 20 anymore. They're 25, 26, 27. And so those conversations are a lot different. And when you tell them, when you hear the impact that you've had on their life, it makes it feel like it's worth it a little bit. The extra hours, the time away from your kids and your family, makes it a little bit more worth it when you realize the impact that you're having on other kids. And he's one of those guys, and we have a lot of those guys that reach out to you and tell you that, and you don't really know it when it happens, but when they quote you on something you said 10, 12, 13 years ago, it's definitely a big deal for sure.
That's great stuff. I mean, we're obviously in a situation in our careers that we can immediately, directly impact the lives of young people. So,
for sure.
So, what is something that your communities, your fans, your family members out there, of your kids, your players, what is something they can expect out of Coach Tap and Coach Nowlin moving forward in these programs?
I've already told my guys from day one, ain't nobody gonna outwork me. And we got to have that mentality that if your coach is not going to be outworked, then you shouldn't be outworked either. And that's where I'm at with it. I'm willing to do anything to help us be successful, to build our program, to build our culture, and to do things a little differently than we've done it. So fire, passion, and be there. This is I think the basketball side of it. In recent events and things that are going on, I think we can all kind of agree that, the basketball locker room, a sports locker room in general, is a great place to be because of who's in it and who's involved, and the differences that you have and the family that you create and the environment that you create. And I'm just excited to kind of start that environment, start that family, and kind of move on from there.
Guy?
Yeah, a lot of the same for me as well. I tell my guys too, like I'm gonna coach you with tough love, and I'm gonna coach them and let them know, like, I'm gonna treat you just like I would treat my own two kids. And not always gonna agree with me, but everything's gonna be done coming from a place of love and coming from a place of doing what I feel is best, not only for them individually, but for the team collectively. And then, kind of piggyback on what you said, the same thing. If I expect them to grind, then me and my staff are going to be expected to be grinding as well, more than anybody out there. And that's what it takes. You want to be special. You want to make that next step, make a push to be next level. You got to do things that are uncommon and be comfortable being uncomfortable. And and that goes for us as coaches just as well as it does for our players. So you're gonna talk about it. You got to be about it. You gotta, don't just preach. You gotta live by the same mantra too. And I'll send the kids like what I'm doing workout wise.
Me too. Same. Hey, I told him, I said, if I come back in better shape than you, there's a problem. All right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So if I come back in better shape than you, that's an issue. So yeah, I agree with all that for sure.
Speaking of that, I dropped 17 pounds in the last 3 weeks.
Doing what?
getting back on my stuff. I was getting lazy, you know. Just getting back on my stuff, eating better. You know, it's real easy during this quarantine to start eating everything in the fridge.
Yeah, it helps you that you don't do something that most other coaches do. That probably helps you a little bit.
That helps me a lot, right? So that's a plus. And so
yeah, for sure.
Just being on my grind. So
yeah, man. I rode my bike 20 miles yesterday, so I'm kind of doing my thing. So
I'm thinking about buying a bike. We ordered a Peloton. That should be
in
a couple of weeks.
I like being outside, man. Get a little sun.
Yeah. Well, that's what my wife said. She said, you're going to buy a bike, but once the season starts, are you really going to ride it? Just buy this Peloton. I think she just wanted to buy the Peloton.
Yeah, she wanted the Peloton.
Just buy the Peloton, and we can ride it any day of the week and get a quick workout. You don't have to ride it.
Yeah, but she gets to ride it, and then you get to ride it after her. It's not like y'all riding it together.
Yeah, exactly. But
you don't have two Pelotons.
Yeah, right. I was suckered into the one, so it works out.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm extremely happy for you guys. I'm
appreciate it, man.
Two young, not young coaches, right? But two coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're young. We're all young. Two coaches that are in it for the right reasons. Right? So I'm excited to see where your careers take off from here. Starting a brand new chapter. It's like fatherhood, right? Starting a brand new chapter, and I'm curious to see how your kids grow up within your families. And so
appreciate it, man.
Much love. If you guys ever need anything, except taking it easy on y'all if we play each other. If y'all ever need anything, I'm always here to help if you need anything.
Yeah, man.
Hey, thank you a lot, man, for having us.
Man. Hey, man, I just want to say I appreciate you doing all this, man. Like, I'm friends with, like, guys like Prez, and I know Jarvin and some other guys like that, but having some other guys on there, Mr. Torres, and some other people that I don't always get to hear from, I thought it's real cool, man. I appreciate what you're doing for the coaching community for sure, man.
Well, I appreciate your kind words, my brother.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, same, man. Appreciate watching all these.
Lost them.
Lost them again.
Damn.
Okay.
That's that Seguin Wi-Fi,
That's the country Wi-Fi.
For sure.
I just upped my internet up, and when it jumped up by like 1,000%, so we're good. But out there in the country. You
got no problems in the Alvarado household.
Guy still hasn't returned back from space.
Yeah, Seguin.
Hey, but some of these conversations, like I know most of these coaches I'm talking to, not all of them. But even then, I'm learning a lot about. Like I know Coach. He coached against me. I've known him for a long time. I didn't know half that stuff.
Life,
Yeah,
man, it's different. Like it's a different perspective, and I think it's really good for me in particular for young coaches to see, and then also for the public to see. I don't think a lot of people realize what really goes on. What goes on at a high school. I don't think they really understand what goes on in high school basketball. And I don't think a lot of people understand that the grind that a lot of people had to take to get there, And, I use Prez as an example. That guy went from Marble Falls to Belton to Houston. He's pretty much, he's trying to cover Texas, to get what he wants out of it. But that, young guys got to be prepared to move, even if, like for me and Guy in our particular situation, it wasn't right for us.
Yeah.
To leave, but you got to kind of be prepared to. So.
Yeah, and now look at Prez. He's got one of the best 5A programs in the state of Texas.
The best, maybe.
I mean, top to bottom, and football, basketball. I mean, they're just loaded.
Yeah, they got athletes for sure.
But it took a lot for him to get there, and he's talked about jobs that he applied for and didn't get, like Load High School where he graduated from, and he didn't understand why it didn't work out. But look at him now, right? So he's got a shot
at
the tournament every year. You back with us?
There he is.
I got the
ball. We both agree that it was that country Wi-Fi that you have.
Probably. Not here in Texas.
Yeah.
No man's land.
Unless
I don't know if I got cut off or whatever.
The whole thing.
But I don't know what got cut off or whatever, but I was just going to say, man, like I've enjoyed watching all these coaching connections you put together, and like just to hear from lots of different coaches, some that we played against, some not, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like we can always listen and learn and get better from just hearing from other people's experiences, their ideas, and it's kind of reassuring to know that a lot of us had different journeys and some tougher than others, but at the end of the day, everybody's in it for the right reasons for the kids, and I don't think we could have picked a better profession to be a part of, and I'm excited for this next chapter of our careers to begin. And Marcus, we're going to be playing here this season. You got to take it easy on us.
That's what I told Dwayne. I said, "You're retiring on the show." I said, because I talked to Guy. We're trying to schedule a game, and he told me that you're out. He was like,
"Yeah,
that's true." And we kind of
yeah.
I can't promise. I mean, we all hope to be good every year. So
right.
I can promise that we will compete our hardest, as will you guys. And I know Tap will work on the game at some point. We've already talked a few times.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And it's just fun. That's how friendships and relationships, like we already know each other well. But I'll tell you what, listening to Stan Leach and Brian Young talk a couple of days ago, they've coached against each other 49 times. And they've had some of the craziest – they're talking about some of the buzzer-beater, craziest games that they've had. And not pretend, but heat in the moment, arguing, getting into it, and then going afterwards and having a meal and other stuff, right? But just that bond and that friendship that they built through those crazy battles, right? So now they're like best friends. And so I'm glad to see you guys take that next step, and we'll try to schedule as many games as possible.
For sure, man.
It's been cool. Ever since they announced and kind of, I guess, made it official, me getting the job, it's been cool, like, to see the camaraderie within the coaching community, because I got coaches from all over the place I didn't have numbers to prior texting me and telling me, hey, it's so-and-so, congrats, like, well-deserved, like, good luck, and all those kind of things. So we got a special bond here within the coaching community.
For sure.
I think
everybody has reached out.
I think every coach knows how hard it is to get one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when somebody gets one, you're kind of entering a
fraternity.
Yeah, for sure, man. And a small group of people. My dad looked it up because my dad is my dad. But I guess there's in my situation, I'm at a 6A school. I guess there's 245 6A schools in the state of Texas. So to be one of 245 in the state, or one of 21 in the city of San Antonio, it's a pretty big deal, and definitely a blessing for sure.
And everybody's, at least in our area, everybody's real good about taking care of each other. Like, if I call somebody older than me and, been in the business while, like, hey, what do you think about this? Any advice? What would you do? Man, people have been so helpful, along my journey. And so it's all about paying it forward. And I think that's what they're doing. And so the brotherhood here in town, and the sisterhood, even the female coaches, I mean, everybody, it's wonderful. I love it.
And that's one thing, similar, like, I've been lucky to have some older coaches who have kind of looked out for me, who have kind of have talked me through some things and showed me how some things work, and showed me the right decision to make in some certain situations. And, hopefully, as years go by, that I'm able to return the favor and kind of pay it forward, like you said, and kind of have a younger assistant that I do the same thing with, and other young coaches who get into the game. Because we have a lot of good young guys in the city of San Antonio who are trying to get their foot in the door. It's just hard to do.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, as some of these older coaches kind of graduate, then I think a lot of guys, like us three and Jawasco and some of those younger guys across the city are going to kind of become the old heads and guys that kind of take on that mentorship role with a lot of people, which can be really important for sure.
Hey, man, you guys take care of yourself. Stay safe.
Yeah, man.
Good luck with everything, and if y'all need something, don't hesitate to call me.
Yeah, man, we'll do, bro.
All right, y'all take. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man, appreciate you, bro.